Let's recreate this fast. Backdrop here, camera here, place here. We're using the Godox BFP to project the light. Place here, light here, gel here, here, blue gel here, light here, stool here, model here, look there. Click here, result.
Hello and welcome back to another Gospel video. Today I'm going to do some kind of reaction video to this guy from Instagram that he's doing this kind of step-by-step guides to create specific portraits, like with very creative lighting and stuff. Sometimes he uses strobes, sometimes he uses continuous light. When I first started seeing him, he was just like an underdog, and now he's been sponsored by Godox, so he talks like all the details of the products and stuff. And now that he's been sponsored, he now uses more equipment just to, sell or promote the brand. So we're gonna be watching one of those newer videos when he talks more specifically about equipment, and I'm just going to react to the fact of the price of creating that specific image with the equipment that he's been using or that he's using, right? So very important here. I think that when it comes to recreate images, it's a good practice to practice, in the way that you see somebody else's work and you say, I like that work, I would really like to try to recreate that. But it's very important to always contain yourself or of always conditioning that, I need this equipment or I need that. You have to learn to work with what you already have, okay? So this is by no means an invitation to extend your gear equipment, it's more about knowing that it does comes with a price, it's not for free. And also just an honest reaction from another photographer, right? So let's just jump right into these videos. So let me just switch here real quick to my other camera right here so we can actually see him in action. Just for reference, this guy is Shutter BYJS. I think for his accent from the UK. And let's just watch the video, okay?
Let's recreate this fast. Backdrop here, camera here. We're using the Godox S3 bracket to mount the flash, place here. We're using the Godox AD200 Pro 2, place here. We're using the Godox BFP to project the light, place here. Light here, gel here. This will be used to create the sliver of light on my eyes. AD400 Pro 2 here, blue gel here. So I'm gonna point this right at the ceiling. This will help soften the light and fill the room with that blue hue. Light here. And for the trigger, we're using the X3C. Stool here, model here, look there. Click here, result.
Okay.
Here, settings.
A 4, yes. 1/200, 100. Yes, because it's super powerful. The flashes are set super powerful. Okay.
Here. Let's recreate.
Just from the get-go, the image is not the same. It's very close, but he's missing one extra light that it's creating this kind of white rim light on the subject. So that's very important to notice because he's only using two lights: the ceiling light that it's bouncing in this hue, in this blue hue, and also the light that is creating this bar of light in the face, in the eyes. It's super nice, this image. I see also a lot of editing, the vignettes and all that stuff, but that's another story. But he gets really, really close. So in terms of the equipment though, these are not cheap lights. These are not cheap strobes. So let's just break that down real quick, okay? So let me just mute real quick the desktop audio so we don't hear that again. And we can actually talk about that. So for the backdrop, I think that you can get away with a very cheap one from Amazon, like a $50 backdrop structure, Those typically come with a green screen, a white screen, and a black screen. So with $50, you're pretty much halfway there. If you want a more professional, if you don't want to have those wrinkles and that shape, you can use more professional backdrops, but that's going to set you back another $100 or $150. So for the starting point, I think that those in Amazon with those 3 included screens are more than enough. And for portraits, I think that that backdrop, it's a little bit too big. You know, I think that you don't need that much. It's a backdrop. I think that with a small one you can get away. Okay, so let's continue. The Godox S3, I think he's just promoting the latest version of it. I do have the S1, the S2, and I think I do order a few weeks back the S3. So the only difference is it's more compatible. You can set different flashes. It's more comfortable to set gels and for the Bowens mounting system. So it's just a newer version. He's just promoting that newer version. You can get away with the S1. If you're looking for used equipment, the S1, the S2 are gonna work great. You don't need this specific model that is gonna be more expensive to actually mount the AD200 Pro, because I do mount my AD200 Pro in a S1 bracket. So let me just go real quick here on Amazon just to tell you what's the price on the S3 Godox bracket. That's gonna cost you $25. It's not that expensive. I think it's great. By seeing it, I think it's the difference is that you can mount bigger strobes, and you have these adapters to mount double speed lights and stuff. So yeah, maybe it's a great upgrade. If you don't have this and you're looking to have a bracket for mounting your flashes with a Bowens mounting system, I think that this is a good investment. $25, I don't think it's super expensive. Let me just see the S1, how much is it? It's the same price. So yeah, just get the newer one. It's gonna work great with round-headed flashes, and also it's gonna give you more space to mount your Bowens mounting modifier. So that's awesome. Let's go now to the Godox AD200 Pro 2. You don't need this specific model. I think that with the Godox AD200, if you find it secondhand, it's gonna work great. So the Godox AD200 Pro, and even an AD200, it's not like any special function that he's using. So it's just raw power of the flash. Is not using any strobes or sync or anything like that. It's just the raw power. So the AD200, the AD200 Pro, the AD200 Pro 2, whatever suits your budget, it's great. For example, here the AD200 Pro 2 is $350. It does come with a battery and stuff, but you know, you can, as I mentioned, you can get away with the AD200 Pro, which is $300. And well, now we are, let's just say we're gonna get the $300 version, the AD200 Pro, not the second version, that one. We are not about $325 with the bracket, and with the backdrop, with the backdrop, that's another $50 maybe. Let's just check for that. Backdrop photo. Let's just select, for example, this one right here that comes, this, as I mentioned, $32, the entire structure, and then you just get your fabric or whatever you're going to be using for your backdrop, for your actual backdrop. So that's $50, let's say, plus $325. We are at $375, and we're using just only that. For the light stands, I think these are about what, $25 a pair, 7 feet tall. I think this is great, $25. We are not at $400 for this specific setup. We're still looking great right here. Let's just continue. Oof, these are quite expensive out there because these are kind of trendy to modify the light to create different patterns with the projector flash. So I don't know how much is this gonna be. This is the BFP 85. Let's just check that real quick. BFP Godox BFP 85. Okay, so oof. This is just the same price as the flash. So this is crazy, man. You know, you can actually just use your flash and, you know, get, for example, I don't know, a modifier that suits the head of the flash, so you can actually create this pattern. It's not gonna be simple though, because what this is actually doing for this projector, you first need to set the actual distance so it's focused, because this is like a second focusing element. So it's not the same as to focus at 2 feet distance as the same way as it is to focus on a 3 feet distance. So be aware of that. There's cheaper options, I'm for sure. So let's just go for a flash, a Bowens projector, for example, Bowens projector. Let's go. For example, this one right here, it's $100. There's another one for aperture. I will trust. I mean, if you're gonna spend $300 on a Godox projector modifier, I just go with the aperture, which is a more known brand, you know, and it's gonna work great for that. So we have $79 option, $89 option. I mean, you can just order, try it. If it works, perfect, you keep it. If not, you can send that back. Okay, so he's using this specific version that is $300. So we were at 400 plus 300. This is a $700 setup, and we're not taking in consideration the camera or the other flashes that he's using. Okay, so just know that we are now at a $700 setup right here. Let's just continue to the next step. Just know that his spending, or his setup, is about $800 just for the light that it's gonna be creating this square or rectangular light in his face. So that's $800 for. That's crazy. I mean, that's how this is done, and that's how photographers charge what they charge for their services, because this is how expensive equipment is, and also this is how specific equipment are for a specific task and a specific things that you want to achieve with that specific equipment. Okay, so he's also using the Godox AD400 Pro 2. Let's just check for that. Godox AD400 Pro. I'm not gonna check for the 2 version here, because it's $650. Damn, that's some expensive equipment right there. $550, the AD400 Pro version 1. I don't know what's the difference between these two. I haven't really looked that up, so that's something to check out. But I'm pretty sure that he's not using any special function that is only available in the 2 version. So I'm going to assume that you can actually get away with the AD400 Pro 1. So we were at $700. Now with a plus 400, with another 550, we're at about $1,250 for this setup, right? So we were at 700. Yeah, I don't want to mess this up. 700 plus 550. Yeah, 12,000, 1,250 $1,250 setup and 80 gels. So I don't know how much this is gonna be. So we have this option right here. $50, another $50 for the gels. So we're about $1,300. That's the way to say it, $1,300. And we missed the second bracket because we are using 2 flashes, so we need 2 brackets. So $1,300 to $1,350. That's gonna be our roundup for this setup. Plus your camera, plus your lens. So that's pretty expensive for a photo, you know? So that's why, in case you don't know why photographers charge that much, this is why. Oh, the trigger. We were missing the trigger, so he's using the X3C, but again, you don't need that last generation remote trigger. So let me just go check that real quick. So X3C. For the name of the trigger, I'm assuming he's using a Canon camera. So Godox, these are pretty much the same price for Sony and all that stuff. So this is $100 trigger. We were at about $300 and $1,300, we said. No, we were at, yeah, okay, plus the second bracket, $25, plus $100 from the trigger. That's $1,375. And we now set to the Canon. Let's just go with the R5 maybe. $3,000. Let's just, I mean, it's unnecessary to add up the price of the camera because we are going to assume that you already have a camera, okay? So let's just remove that. We don't need that. Let's just go back here. And so this is a $1,375 image, and he's not using that third light that is creating that rim light on his shoulders, on his head. So for that, we're just gonna count, I mean, I wanna count that because the first image is that pricey. So let's just go here and check for a simple flash. Let's just go, for example, with the V1 Godox from Godox. This is a relative cheap flash, I wanna say. V1 mid S, I don't know what that means. Oh yeah, this is the V1, okay. V1S, $200. We can use that. So to the entire setup, we add another $200. That's $1,575. That's gonna cost you another bracket. That's gonna cost you an extra pair of light stands. So that's another $35. And that specific flash in the back, it's going to need a modifier. I don't know which one, maybe a grid, just not to expand that much, but let's just go with something fancy. For example, the MagMod grid. Okay, so it's this one right here, and you can get away with this one right here. This is the starting pack with the sphere, with the magnet, and also the grid. So this is $100. So we are about now at $1,735 setup for this image. Do you need for the settings right here, for example, if you want to use a 100-watt power flash, maybe that 1/8 is gonna go at about 1/4 or a half power, full power output. And the AD400 Pro is a 1/16, and maybe you can use a less powerful flash, and you can actually get away with maybe a 1/8 or 1/4 power output. Maybe you can sacrifice sharpness and go with an f3.2, f2.8 if you're shooting on f1.8, f1.4 lens. Maybe you don't have to go f4. F4 is to have like your entire subject in focus, right? So maybe you can sacrifice that a little bit. Shutter speed, I wouldn't move this, so it's time is freeze correctly. ISO also, for example, if you're using the Sony a7 IV, it's not on paper, but experiments have shown that you have some kind of a dual base ISO, like at ISO 100, it's great, the camera is super clean, and you go 100, 125, 150, 200, 250, 320, and then it goes to 400. When it reaches the 400, the noise in the image goes low, and then it starts going up again. So that's the dual base ISO in the photo mode in the a7 IV. I mean, Sony specifically doesn't say it, but it's there, okay? So you can also get away by pretty much, that's 2 stops of slide, so you can actually decrease the power on these lights right here. So you can compensate going higher in your ISO and reducing the power of your flashes, and you can get pretty much the same result. So yeah, I mean, do you need these powerful flashes? Do you need to spend $1,700 to get this image? Definitely no. So that's where I was, that's why I was mentioning that you don't need this expensive equipment. You can, if you know how to use the equipment you have, you can get a pretty close result. And for that, I'm going to do this exercise for you. I do have a projector that is super cheap. It cost me about $50. I have flashes. I have an AD200 Pro. I have a V1. I have a 480 flash. I don't have that specific trigger, but I have a small pocket flash that also serves as a trigger. And yeah, it's maybe less than half this price right here. So I'm just trying to recreate this image right here. Okay, so let's do this challenge. I don't just want to criticize the fact that it's using a lot of money to create this image. I think we can recreate it, but with far much less investment here. So let me just stop the recording right now for me to set lights up and all that in my background here, and then I bring you back just to see how I set things up. what I'm using and all the process here. Okay, so let's just do that real quick with the power of editing. And okay, so I don't know how good you're gonna be able to hear me because I'm using here my microphone and it's more designed for me to be talking directly to it, but let me just walk you through the setup. It's been about 30 minutes that took me to do some tests and some shots to see if I can get close to the actual image. I don't have a white hoodie, so that's gonna be out of the reach right now, but I think I get really close to it. So the next step is just to show you how I set everything up and just to make you an estimate of how you can actually get real close to the image they generated, they took, but with obviously less money invested in the equipment. So as I mentioned, I'm using the AD200 Pro, the version number 1. I'm using the Mac Mod gels to modify the actual color. These are these guys right here. I'm using 2. I'm stacking 2 of these because I wanted to have like a deeper blue to the actual background. This would have been more simpler if it was continuous light, but I decided to go with strobes, but you can actually also do this with continuous light, and if you have RGB lights, this is something that you can actually achieve too. So my Amazon Basics light stand, my S2 Godox mounting bracket. I'm gonna make you an estimate once I finish. For the key light, I'm using the Godox. This is the B480S. So the S stands for the system, for the camera system. So that's one specifically for my Sony. So this one is a 480. This is relatively a mid-range flash. It's not that powerful. But this one I'm using, I'm not gonna move it because that's gonna ruin the position that I already set for the actual light bar right here. But it's pretty much that Bowen's modifier, the projector there, that it's set so it can actually project the light into my face, and you can actually get that effect of the bar just right in front of you. Okay, so that's the light right there with another Amazon Basics light stand. For my camera, I'm using a basic tripod. I'm using my V1 battery so I can have continuous power. And for the hair light, or for the other flash, for the third light that is actually lighting the shoulders, I'm using the B1S with a Mac Mod modifier with a grid right here, and it's pointed directly behind me and above, so you can actually create this effect in my shoulders. So this is the actual setup. Power settings. So I'm using this controller right here. This is the pocket flash that I mentioned right here. This is the IT30S because I'm using Sony, but you have the N for Nikon and the C for Canon and the P for Panasonic and stuff. So know that this right here can be compatible. The good thing about this transmitter and this controller is that it's actually a flash, and also you can control other flashes with it. But the limitation is that you can only have 3 groups with this. So I only have group A, group B, and group C. So that's the limit of it. And also it can shoot at the same time. So you have actually 4 flashes at different power output with this controller, with the IT30 Pro S. Okay, my camera is using a 50mm. It's relatively close to me. So just know that you can actually set this up this way. And just about right here, I set myself right here and just take a picture. So I'm gonna connect my iPhone to the Sony camera so I can control it and I can focus correctly and just shoot. So as you can see, it's really close to me, this modifier, this projector, because I don't have the option to actually close the rectangular. So I do have these modifiers right here. This projector comes with all this bunch of modifiers. So you have this weird shape, and this other small, sorry about that, bar right here, so you can actually see. So there's a bunch, but the thing here is that you have these 2 to actually create like your specific shape, but this is only like 2 of those. To actually be able to create a rectangular with a limit, you need to have 2 other right here and right here, so you can actually have that correctly positioned. So maybe I could use that one, which is a rectangular already, and use these 2 to limit the position, but I just didn't came up with that idea. I just solved it with what I already have. So let's just take the photo. Let me just connect real quick the iPhone to the camera. Let me just go to my settings and set this on. network option and plane mode off. Now you're gonna be able to connect to the camera, control camera, remote shooting. Now I'm connecting to my A7 IV. Now it's connected. So I'm gonna turn off this light right here. So there's no other light but the flashes actually going in. Let me just adjust this real quick. It's gonna be a little bit dark at the moment, but just bear with me. Okay. So I think I finally did it. I think I get the photo in a minute if I was right or if I was not right. Okay, so let me just bring that guy down and I'm just gonna make another scene here. Let me just import that image so you can actually see the other part, which is the editing process, because the photos doesn't yield exactly like you expect them to, so that's why you need to edit them. So let's just go here. Just give me a minute. This memory card, I think, is starting to fail me, so I might be thinking of not using it anymore for work. So let's go do an import. Great, so now that I have imported the images, I can see which one I like most, you know. So pretty much the thing that I was trying to do is just to nail the position of the light bar in my eyes. So that's the only difference between each image. I failed before in the recording process, so I didn't record correctly the editing process, but this is the final image right here. I'm going to walk you through what I did to actually get to this point in the image, so you can actually follow along if you're trying to recreate to your image. So the main thing here is that we didn't get that much of the contrast and the color in the hue of the light. That's intentional because I didn't want to create that much contamination in the rest of the image by increasing the power output of the flash. So that's why I decided to underexpose a little bit. But now that I have here my image, I can deactivate all the masks that I added so you can actually see how the image was before. Let me just go and deactivate here the skin, the pupil, and the iris. Obviously the teeth doesn't go there. The background, the other light right here, and that's right there. So right now I don't have any setting right there. So this is how the image came out of the camera. I adjusted the exposure, I added some contrast. I didn't move the highlights because I think that we nailed it correctly, the exposure in my eyes, but I adjust a little bit that in the masks. The whites stay the same, and the blacks I increase them so we can recover some detail. So that's why I underexposed, but because we have raw images, we can recover that detail, bringing back the blacks so we can actually have that detail. And just added a little bit more saturation just to bring that color in to get it to be a little bit more punchy. So that's the before, and this is the after, right? So if I go here, you can see that I already have also the vignette. So that's why we have already that black framing around the image. So that's very important. And also this one, before activating the masks, I just want to show you that I already cropped this image. So this is how the image was before. Let me just show you real quick. This is the image. I shoot it in portrait mode and then just crop to a 4:5. So it's the best aspect ratio for social media, Instagram specifically. Okay, so let's just go there and start walking through the process. So because of I added that gel to have that orangey color in the light, it's a little bit too punchy after adding saturation to the entire image. So I added this mask right here to reduce that punchiness of that color. So I decreased the saturation with that mask right here. What is this mask? It's just linear gradients to create that framing again. So you can actually see this one right here, this one right here. I can show you the overlay. So this is exactly what my mask is affecting. So it's only my eyes, the light right there, okay? So that's for the mask number one. This one, I think that I deactivated this one right here because I didn't like what it was doing. Let me just review this. So I don't remember which this one was doing. This one right here, perfect. So that's the other one that I added a little bit more light to the entire scene. Here I recovered some color also. I think this is the one that I didn't like. There you go, perfect. So there you go, right? So I added a little bit more contrast and light to the background. Then I added just some automatic adaptive portrait adjustments. So that's gonna clean a little bit my face with facial skin, the eye sclera, the iris and pupil, the teeth. I'm not smiling, so it doesn't affect that much. And then I added that gradient in the back by just creating a mask of the subject and then inverting in it. And I'm sorry, I just added a gradient, this one right here. Let me just open this up so you can see a radial gradient, and then just subtracted the subject so you can actually see that it's only that behind me. So that I just did an increase in exposure, and that's pretty much it. And then just recover a little bit of detail because as you can see here, it's too shadowy, the chin, this side of my face right here. So that's why I decided to go with this option right here to bring back a little bit of detail. So I increased the shadows in this mask right here. And the last one is just added a little bit more of softness to the image, so it looks a little bit more creamy. So I decrease the texture and the clarity, and that's how I get that final look of the image. So this is how we end up with the image. Let me just show you the before and the after. Let me just close this up so you can actually see the Y and Y. So this is the before and this is the after right here. We can see the detail in the eyes, the definition, the softness. We decrease a little bit the detail. We add more color to the shadows to have more information right there. Increase the saturation, have that gradient, have the actual vignette. So it's a little bit closer to what we have right here in this recreation. So the only thing that I missed in this image right here was the fact that I didn't get right the entire light coming all the way to my scene, to the side of my head, all the way to my ears. So it's a little bit more reduced, but I think we get pretty close. If you ask me, I think it's quite decent. I don't know what you think. Let me know in the comments down below. Obviously, not having the white hoodie definitely affects. Oh, I just closed that. I'm sorry. It does affect because that white hoodie reflects also that blue hue created by that other light. So definitely, I'm going to try that with a white or with at least a clearer hoodie just to see how that reproduces. But I think we nailed it pretty much. The image we get it pretty close. It's not the same definitely, but we get pretty close with the same idea right here. So just for information, if you're curious about how you export these kind of images, I'm just gonna share with you real quick the settings that I used to export this. So let's just go to here, export. And just for reference, the name of the files, just to have it organized, you set it the way you want it. The important thing here is that the quality you set to JPEG, because that's the smallest format. That's going to assure that it's not going to get any extra processing. Have you ever tried to upload a raw file to Instagram? Let me know in the comments. I haven't. I don't know what happens. But there you go. Quality 100% JPEG. sRGB because we're working on a digital color space. And then down here in the image scaling, this is the most important part. You set the resize to fit to the long edge. If you're using the 4:5 aspect ratio, you're gonna have this 1350 pixels in the log edge, the vertical in the 5 of the 4:5. But I like doubling that up so you can actually zoom in if you want in the social media, and it doesn't get that that much pixely, you know. And the other is the 72 pixels per inch resolutions for screens and sharpening for screen. That's the only thing that I add right here, and then just hit export, and then you have your images. So I just want to show you real quick here the photos, that the raw files are 66 megabytes in size, and now the processed image is just 2 megabytes in size. So this is a very friendly sized image, and you can actually zoom in and still have a lot of detail. So this one looks pretty great. I'm not sure if I'm going to be using this one for my profile picture, but definitely I think we get real close to what our friend here, the shutter SYJS, was doing here. But let me know in the comments if you have any questions regarding how to achieve these kind of images. I think it was a great exercise just to get to know the equipment, what you can actually do, and overall just to know, just to practice. You know, I think that one of the things that we should actually do is just get out of our comfort zone and accept these kind of challenges and not just sit in the couch and watch other people doing this kind of stuff. So if you see something and you feel inspired, just do it. If you have the equipment, maybe you don't have the same equipment because that's a lot of money. We talk about $1,800 just to have the same setup as he did, not taking in consideration the camera. But I did the same with half or less than half the equipment he have, with my AD200 Pro, with the other flash, the V1 and the V480S. And I managed myself. I adjusted the settings, the camera, and the position. I didn't get the same result, but we get really, really close. So that's the main idea here. Anyways, that's it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. I know I extended myself a little bit, but we have a lot here. We have the reaction, we have the equipment analysis, we have the setup, we have the photo, we have the editing. So this is a lot, I know, but I hope you like it. Let me know if you like this, but in a little bit more of a shorter format. I'll do my best to script this out so we can go straight to the point. I enjoy doing this. I hope you enjoy this too. And I see you in the next one. Thank you very much. Subscribe if you like this kind of content, and that's gonna help me to keep creating more content and bring you this kind of analysis and stuff. So I really enjoy doing this. So again, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.